Right, I hit record. Hey, everybody, and welcome to a very special interview with a game I am super hyped about. Beast World with the creator Cullen. My name is Callan Hale, your retro horror guy who plays spooky games so you don't have to. And so we're here with Cullen. Why don't you tell us a little about yourself, sir?
Sure. Yeah. I am the author of The Delver's Guide to Beast World. It is a 5e book about animal people who wear clothes and uh, they drive in a caravan of wagons around a place called the Beast World. And I am I've been playing D&D for 15 years. I've been a DM for about as long. And I've wanted to publish for a long time. I've been kind of shy about doing so because, it's tough to present yourself out to the world. But I finally decided to pull the trigger and do it, and this is my baby, and that's me.
And well, those who've tuned in have seen I did a review of this, and my players absolutely loved it. Like they are hyped on this beyond belief. Uh, I know myself. I enjoy the system you made because it's not your typical D&D game, which I like. It's something new. I've I've been playing for 30 years now,
Wow.
and I've never seen something like this. Like I see people say, "Oh, how can we bring animals into the game? How can we bring new stuff?" And you essentially did what we've been asking for years that Wizards hasn't, with your own flair. I really do enjoy that, and I want to thank you for coming on what will be my new show.
Sure. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
No problem.
Oh,
Happy to.
just what inspired you to do this?
Well, like I said, I've I've been DMing for a long time, and I've been writing sort of creative content for D&D for a long time, and I've wanted to publish for years, but I've never really found a niche or a group of people that I really had something to say to with my content. And a couple years ago, I started running a D&D game for a group of furries, and kind of spun it out from there, and the Beast World came out from this game, and it just sort of clicked. There's a moment when you really find the world that you build that you have infinite ideas for, and it all happens so naturally. Which isn't to say that it hasn't been a lot of work, but it feels like the right thing to present to the world, and we're hoping that it is. We want a lot of people to enjoy this, and so I suppose my inspiration in this is like I finally found something that I think there's a real want for, and like you said, there's kind of a gap for in D&D. And I think that a professional looking product that presents this sort of thing will resonate with a lot of people, and that's what inspired me to really push this forward.
Excuse me. And as people watching can see, like this book is phenomenal. Like I know you got a Kickstarter going right now, and I'm in love with your character sheet. Just accessibility standpoint wise, it is phenomenal to me. Everything is where I can view it. Like as I mentioned before we started recording, I ran this by players. We're all disabled vets. It was easy to read. I just it pops. And
I have a lot of really talented people working with me. Lexi Fox is my editor and layout designer, and she and I have talked a lot about making sure that the Delver's Guide is accessible to people who might have different needs than the average player. And we've tried to make all of our content accessible to people with dyslexia and accessible to people who might have a hard time processing like the overwhelming amount of visual data that D&D can be sometimes. And we tried to do it in a succinct way. So it means a lot that you would say that, because it's something that we've really taken seriously from the beginning.
Me myself, I actually have dyslexia, and this was one of the easier guides I've read.
I'm gonna tell Lexi that, and she's gonna love that, because we think about people with dyslexia a lot, because like it's really a lot more common than a lot of people know, and it I myself do not have dyslexia, but I imagine it must be really frustrating to find a guide that ostensibly you'd really like with the content of, but have a hard time literally taking in. Like I want to present a book that addresses that and really is thoughtful about the people reading.
That is amazing. That actually means a lot to me, because I've been playing D&D for, like I said, 30 years. I have so many books. Some of them I have to put down because my eyes can't process. What you're doing, I consumed in a few hours. I was like, I want to run this. My party was like, guys, check this out. We're running this.
Well, I'm pleased to hear it.
And they were like, can I make this character? Can I make this character? Can I make this character? Like,
well, we're hoping that the end book will have a whole lot more of that. Like, I want the end book to be as digestible as the preview is, and really get you thinking about the world and make you excited to run a game in it.
Oh yeah, I will tell you, my players were excited. I was super excited. Like I loved it. They loved it. I know we talked a bit about some of the stuff when I ran it, and my players were just like, can we make this our whole campaign for this season? Like, you guys can do. You can go back and on Kickstarter and help me hype it on Twitter. And they're like, we don't have Twitter.
Well, that's what we want. We want people to read the book, and like we need help. Like the more people are interested in reading it, and the more people back us, then the easier time we'll have getting the best possible product out, because I'll be able to pay my artists what I think they deserve, and I think, and I'll be able to hire help around an office, and Lexi and I will be able to work full time on this, and that's what we're looking to do. So that would be awesome. Like, if you're interested in this sort of content and you enjoy the preview, I would ask your audience, please go and back the book by all means.
If you guys can, if anybody can, please back this, because I know I'm gonna back it. I love this book. I love what you're doing. One big question I always ask: what got you into TTRPGs? Like, what drew you to this hobby that has so many people enraptured by it?
Well, when I was 16 or so, when I was in high school, I actually, I guess if you want to go back even further than that, I come from a background of online chat role play. That is my bread and butter. I've been doing it since I was 13, and I have always done it since I was 13. The game that became the Beast World started as a chat role play game with D&D rules. But when I was 16 years old, I had a friend, a high school friend, who had the second edition books, and he showed me the books, and I'd sort of rubbed elbows with D&D. I grew up in like an evangelical home, so like there was sort of this like evil mystique around D&D, which like anyone in your audience who is evangelical will kind of empathize with, I think. But when I was in high school, I made a friend who had the second edition books, and he showed me. And actually, what caught me to getting into TTRPGs was actually tables. I loved the list, just lists and lists of options for simulating things in a fictional space. Because one of the things about chat roleplay is that it's very freeform, so there's no backbone of rules that characters are built around. There's no persistent world that all the characters are a part of. So as a result, you get a little bit of free form craft. You get a little bit of like everybody is in this from a slightly different genre, and everybody is telling a slightly different story. Whereas D&D really brings that into a beautiful focus, and it allows people who are into this sort of collaborative storytelling to do it together in a cohesive way that is more cooperative than the kind of check out my backstory fest that open chat roleplay can be. And that's really what attracted me to it when I was younger.
Oh,
And even into this day, it's the same thing.
well, I don't want to date myself. I mean, that reminds me of the old IRC days when I would join a random chat room and be like, oh hey, we're gonna RP together.
Yeah, that's
And
exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, that's I was one of those people. The only reason I'm not still is because Discord is so much better about it. Uh,
oh, it
it's
it
just like a lot better of a platform for it than IRC, which is has a lot of uh,
bots and
workarounds that you have to do.
yeah, nowadays like IRC, ICQ, you got to do so much stuff with Windows now. But like I'm in a few Discord servers myself, actually, really big one. Uh, they do TTRPGs in. I
Yeah.
started it years ago with a few friends, and now I passed the torch on to a friend's little sister. And 17,000 members later, I'm like, I'm gonna just avoid this because
Wow.
there's
Yeah.
too many people here for me.
One of the things that and that actually touches on one of the things that drew me to publishing this is that I think that there is an underappreciated group on the internet, and by group I mean crowd. There is an underappreciated crowd on the internet that isn't getting their role play needs met. And one of the other design goals that I have with the Delver's Guide is to allow the rules to be used in that kind of setting, because I think that I think that all first party Dungeons and Dragons games, they assume either a table or a streamed table, that sort of closed amount of time where you sit down for 4 hours and run a game once a week. I think that if you show a little imagination, you're willing to listen to the people that are out there and pay attention to how people are interacting with the game, that you can find people who really aren't getting their needs met, who really could use content and new spells and subclasses and ways to interact with the game in a text roleplay format that would be grateful for that content. And that's one of the other reasons I wanted to write the Delver's Guide.
And I love that. I picked that up when I was reading through the preview. Like it feels like if I were to run this as a play by post, I could. And I did. I ran this with my group as a play by post for a bit and they loved it because you wrote it in such a way that's easy to say, "Hey, we need to take a break for a minute."
Yeah.
But a person can go away and come back. That's how I enjoy writing personally. I don't want you to
Sure.
feel you have to be there all the time.
Yeah.
Because
Well, I think that touches on kind of the main difference between the two types of play that I'm talking about, which is in a text role play format or a play by post format, you're in open time. So a conversation between two characters. The downside is a conversation between two characters can take 2 days. But the upside is you can really dig down into a character and you can explore their thoughts and their reactions in a way that is much more difficult at a live table where you're looking someone face to face and doing improv
mm-hmm,
at them. You can get much more personal when because a lot of tabletop players are pretty shy about really going over the top with their improv acting, because it's hard. It takes a lot of extroversion to do that. But when you get into a play by post format, those same people, you'll see the most beautiful expression of character from them, given the opportunity and given the right context.
oh, you are so right. Like my years of RPing and playing D&D, like you cannot see the smile on my face right now, but I am smiling like a nerd right now. Like, you get it.
Yeah, yeah.
you
I've been a part of both worlds for a long time,
you
and I really do think that play by post and text RP is an art form that is waiting to mature. I think it just needs the attention of organized people, and it needs like people who are willing to talk about it as an art form and study it for it to really flourish as a new way of writing. In the
it
same way that in the same way that video games were sort of this, nascent art form in the 1970s and 80s, but were considered mostly a toy. And then as soon as we started examining them as an art form, they flourished
they
as in that space.
they became an art form.
Yeah.
And I 100% agree. Thank you for sharing that opinion. And like, I realize Ttrpgs are an art. As a fellow writer, I know like a lot of my stuff I unpublished because of weird legalities.
Okay.
Republishing soon. Mostly uh DM's Guild, Wizards of the Coast,
Uh-huh.
BS, which I'm sure you've heard of. It's I want to publish my stuff to help people, not constrain them.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, and to
you're
legitimize what they want to be doing, and they know that it's legitimate, like deep down, but maybe it doesn't have the reputation of being legitimate. So if you treat them like they are artists, then they will be free to make their art in a more open way.
exactly. You get it. And that's why I support you guys so much. Like I found you guys via Facebook and I was kind of leery. I was like, what's this? Another Facebook ad. Clicked on it by happenstance, found your Discord, and found such a wonderful community that you built.
Yeah, I want to shout out our Discord community because we have a lot of really great people on there, and I think that we've worked really hard to make people feel welcome in that space, and I think that people recognize that, and we have a lot of really cool people on there.
Like
I just
I
want to say hi to them.
I joined my first day. You welcomed me. Like 30 other people welcomed me who were online. That is such an awesome space. And then I asked questions about the system, and you answered snap. Here's the answer. Other people, oh, I've run this. Here's the answer. That tells me you have a great community. We need more of that. That's
I think you're right. Yeah.
why I'm so hype on this. We need more of this. This is what our community is about. Our Ttrpg community. We're not about excluding people. Let's include everyone. Why
Yeah.
not?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And okay, got another question that I always ask: does pineapple belong on pizza?
I actually have pretty strong opinions about this. I think it does, and so I actually have a pizza. There's a pizza that they serve in we're writing the book in Buffalo, New York, and there is this I found out regional thing in Buffalo, New York, because I talked to a bunch of people from elsewhere in the country and they had never heard of it. Which is we have a Hawaiian pizza, which most people have, like they know about pineapple and ham pizza. But our Hawaiian pizza also has shaved almonds and maraschino
Ooh.
cherries. So not only do I believe that pineapple belongs on pizza, but I think maraschino cherries do as well in this one specific instance.
Now I'm curious about that because I lived in Chicago for a bit, and they didn't put ham. They only put bacon on their
Interesting.
pizza with pineapple. And like my partner Gemma looked at me like, yeah, pineapple belongs on pizza, like with Canadian bacon or real bacon.
Yeah.
Like they put actual bacon, like baked bacon on the pizza with pepperoni and salami. I was like,
Oh, that's no longer
ooh,
Hawaiian pizza. That's just
like
another kind of pizza.
like they called it Hawaiian. But it's really good though.
That sounds good.
So, aside from D&D, what is your favorite TTRPG if you have one? Like, is it just D&D? Have you played any other games? You mentioned you
Yeah,
played 15 years. You're like me. You're a grog. I hate to say it. You're a grog. You played about as long as I have. People are gonna call you grog now.
I actually I have. I've played a bunch of different games. Uh, I I enjoy Pathfinder, which is kind of like it's kind of a cop out. That's kind of just another D&D. I'm sure Pathfinder nerds would come after me for that, but
It's D&D 2.0.
I like yeah I like Pathfinder. I love Fate Core. I think Fate is a really cool system. If you want something rules light. I
You're my best friend
I
now.
played Vampire the Masquerade for a long time. I really love the world building in Vampire the Masquerade. I love that the first party D&D books have a certain shyness about going into the history of the characters that the specific characters in their books.
Mhm.
And Vampire the Masquerade does not have that shyness. They go deep into their history and stuff, and I think that's really neat. One of the things that I I don't like when I don't like the negativity surrounding like D&D from people who play other games. Uh, and I think that the negative pressure is bad for the space, but at the same time, I also think that uh, as I've played other games, uh, other TTRPGs, it has made my D&D games better as a result. And it is and as a book writer, it has made my TTRPG book writing better as a result. So I encourage, like, even if you don't end up getting 5 people together 4 hours a week to run, take a look at other source books, see what they're doing, see what you like about other source books, and then even if you are just going to play D&D, bring what you like back with you. Like, there's no rules. You do whatever you want. So with things like Cyberpunk 2077, which I was playing, and then I read the source book for. Uh, that was like a really cool book that actually influenced a lot of like design decisions in the preview and then also in the main book. Because the cyberpunk the first edition cyberpunk source book actually incorporates this running story, this fiction, basically like part of a novel, right into the source book as how they build out their world and sort of introduce you to this world. And I think that's rad as hell. So so I took that with me, and I was like, I want to do that in my book. I want to put snippets and short stories in my book because I think it's a really great way to introduce someone to a world they're not familiar with.
And I did love that.
Yeah.
Like in my review, I read those and just they drew me in. And I
I'm
hope
glad.
they drew others in because those little snippets meant something. It meant, oh, your world is living. There is so much more to this world than just the book. It was
Yeah,
so
I
cool.
think that D&D I think that the first party Dungeons and Dragons books get 3/4 of the way there because they do incite a lot of questions. They incite a lot of questions about, like, oh well, who is Coralon the Rethian? Who are all these characters? What is going on in the city of Waterdeep? And so on and so forth. And then, but I think they fall, in my opinion, they fall just short because they don't start to answer those questions in a way that sort of brings you along and starts you walking along with them.
I
They present the concepts and then they let it go.
I agree there. They 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 give you the concept, but expect the DM to fill it in.
Yes.
And I run a I don't want to call it a class. I run a lot of new GMs. Like I sit in on their games, help them out, who don't know how to run a game.
Sure.
They focus on that old stuff so much. Like, but I have to go
Oh
by the
yeah, I was the
book.
same way. Yeah. I was the same way when I started DMing. I was
Oh,
fascinated by it, and I think that's good. I think that wanting to, I think there's a certain charm that's unique to D&D, even among and it's what makes them better than video games. TTRPGs is that you have this drive to contribute to a lore. Like you get a world presented to you, and then you say, how would you make changes to this? How would you extend this world? And that's actually one of the big things that we're doing with the Delver's Guide, is that at the bottom of every page of the Delver's Guide, and every single page of the Delver's Guide, there will be open questions asked to GMs.
and I love that so much.
I appreciate it.
Asking a GM a question means I have to be a better GM. Not
Yeah, and
the
it sets you up to be a good GM. I believe.
not the typical. Here's the next step.
Right.
Like your guide, as I showed on the video, it's not step 1, step 2, step 3. It's questioning. How are you going to run this world that you created? My players have had like I ran one shot of it. I'm trying to get them to record it with me when they get better mics. They want to know, how do we run this? How are our characters important to this world? Can we run a full campaign of this? Not just the one shot you ran. And to me, that says a lot. Because these are
I want to
people
I want to present the Beast world to players and GMs, but beyond that, I don't want to just present the world and then leave it be. I want to
they want
invite
add-ons
them into it to play their games.
They want add-ons. They're like, what's the add-on? When are we gonna get this race? Maybe it's their race. Like Cullen just started making this game, folks. So let's back off a bit.
One book at a time. Yeah, that's what I have to remind myself. I have a lot of ideas for
I know. Like I'm also a creator. I do not do Kickstarter, personal reasons, but I hype the hell out of them. And yours, oh man, yours, my friend, is one that I love the layout. I love the premise you're going for. This is something I've never seen before.
Well, that's what I want. That's what I want you to say. I want you to, and when you see the final book, I want you to say that every few pages, which is like, this is different than other books that I've looked at.
When you do your final book, when I get it eventually, because I back to Kickstarter, I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna be messaging you every day. Can I review this on Treasure Trove?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and I would be happy to come on the show again when the final book comes out and talk about it.
And just talk to you about everything you've done, because you're doing so much good work. Now, you don't see it now, I'm pretty sure you don't see it now, but you're tackling a marginalized community.
Well, that's one of the things that's important to us is there's a lot of like really interesting world cultures that don't get as much love in Western fantasy tabletop, and we want to make those known.
I saw that tweet earlier. We mentioned that, and I was like, this is why No It's the right decision to make you my first person on not just Retro Horror Presents, but on D3 Presents, my company. D3 presents this.
I appreciate it. I hope to be worthy of that. We're working really hard. We want the book to be
you're
the best.
Doing amazing research, amazing work, and I don't want anyone to think you're not. Although I have feeling some people will say, "Oh, well, you're not doing enough." Yeah, I know I'll lose followers for that, but you're doing a great deal to bring forth recognition into a marginalized community.
Well, that's that's our goal.
And I am proud to that I'm honored that you let me interview you today.
Of course, yeah. I'd be happy to do it again whenever you'd like to have me on.
Oh,
I appreciate the opportunity to talk
when
about my silly animal book.
you call slam book and I call it like I shared it with a bunch of people like I want to run this game because I've had players who like I want to run a panda. Actually, I myself am indigenous and have run my no name as a character, and people are like, "But that's not a character in D&D." And the
Yeah,
GM had to like fudge it a bit,
sure, yeah.
and you've made it so I can run that character.
Well,
Uh,
I that means a lot to me. I appreciate that.
yeah,
That's what we want to do.
I appreciate it too more than you know. Another um question that okay went Twitter to ask for questions. What
Sure.
inspired you to be a creator? I know you answered this earlier. Like, what inspired you to create this? But what made you be creative? Like, what in you said I have to make a new
Oh,
world?
this is an almost spiritual question. I,
I reached
so
out
I
to.
guess my creative drive comes from that's a tough question. So I guess like all people, I also consume a lot of fiction, and see a lot of others' ideas, and I guess I'm curious about how other people might react to slight changes in them, and like synthesis of different ideas that I've already seen. Uh, and I guess the reason why I create stuff is just to see others' reaction to it. I want to present my work, uh, and see others light up, or whatever their reaction to it might be. I'm really curious about that. I love people, and I love uh, seeing what makes them happy, and what incites thinking, different new thoughts and new emotions in them, and that's really what gets me going.
Okay, next question. So I want to just say it's been amazing interviewing you. We're gonna launch Sunday with your interview. You've been awesome. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me.
And thank you for interviewing. I'm trying to find out how to end the interview with my OBS software. Now we're a little over 30 minutes, like we said. Ah, mouse. Stop doing that. I found trying to find a mouse.
It looks like you found it.
Yeah. But hey, thank you, man. It
Yeah,
has
I
been
appreciate it.
awesome. You've been
Thanks for
awesome.
interviewing me. I appreciate it.
I really enjoyed interviewing you. Like you made a system that I'm Cherokee. I feel a I'm trying to find the word. I feel a word to your system. I feel deepness
I see. I see.
because it tackles my soul a bit, and that
Hmm.
is cool.
Well, that's awesome. Like if you're getting anything from my work, then I really appreciate it. And thank you for having me on. Thank you for
Mm.
talking with me.
Oh,
I,
thank
I look
you.
forward I look forward to seeing the video when it comes out. You have to
Yeah,
let me know.
and I will DM you when it goes live, and I will
Yeah,
also
and
tweet it.
I'll make
And
sure that the kids on Discord know.
thank you, friend.
Yeah, and I'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Thank you.